You are so dispersed. Can I request you to come closer? Those who are very far behind there, so that we look like people who are together. Like now, one is seated there, there are 3 seats empty, and then another one is seated there. Yeah? Yes. Senior, kuja mbele, jaza mbele. Now next line and the next line, like the mosque. You know, when you go to the mosque, you first of all feel the first line, and then the next and the next. So can you behave like that while you are in the mosque? What 15 na mayo? Okay. We would like to start. Hello. Mheshimiwa Yusuf, kuja mbele. Wacha kujificha huko, alafu saa nyingine mtaambia you have been marginalized. Okay, are you ready up there? Can you project the first talking points or the first presentation? Okay, good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for keeping time. Actually, 4 minutes before the time. It is commendable. Most of the time, people don't keep time. And this is Group 2. Pastoralism and Livestock Development Sector. My name is Adan Haji Yusuf, Member of Parliament for Mandera West, the Chair of Pastoralist and Livestock Development Subsector of BBG. I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this session. I would like the panelists to introduce themselves so that later on, when they stand up to say something, you know who is who. So, can the panelists introduce themselves, starting with Dr. Diba? I know all of them, but they have to introduce themselves. Kujaba.
That one has failed Kenyan mic
No,
test.
it did not.
So, my name is Dibadi Duako. I'm Dr. Dibadi Duako. I work for Masico as a Regional Livestock Program Director. Regional Livestock Program is a market system development program funded by SDC and now AFD joining, covering Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, focusing on all matters livestock. Ready to present to you in a few minutes. Thank you very much.
My name is David Ole Sankok, a Member of Parliament, East African Legislative Assembly, representing 8 countries: Federal Republic of Somalia, Republic of Kenya, Republic of South Sudan, Republic of Uganda, Republic of Rwanda, Republic of Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, and the United Republic of Tanzania. Thank you.
MP of Africa wote. Hello.
Good afternoon. My name is Abshar Philhelmi. I'm currently the Director of Livestock Production. With me are two very important stakeholders in this livestock industry. We have the Dr. Misoi, who is the Managing Director of Kenya Animal Genetic Resources. And we have Dr. Sabuli, who is the Managing Director of Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production. I'm sure you have been hearing last 2 months conspiracy theories of the vaccinations. So I have been in this space for the last 35 years in the livestock space, and virtually I have worked in almost all those counties that you are seeing there. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Naitwa Professor Gulie, and working with David Ndi, who just left this word session this morning in the Economic Council. But I'm also Commissioner Emeritus, IEBC. A lot of my products were here parading themselves last night without even saying who made them, what they are. For the purpose of this presentation, I will be talking about livestock, and in the council, that is the matter that I handle. With me here was Dr. Menjo. I don't know where he is. He is good, no? Okay. From the Presidential Economic Transformation Secretariat. But more importantly, I'm from Wajir County. I'm proud to be from Wajir County. And my home village is Giriftu. Anybody who knows Giriftu, I'm a proud ambassador of Giriftu. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Professor. Honorable Hujale, everybody is honorable, you know.
Assalamu alaikum.
So don't be shy to be called honorable.
Shukran. My name is Diad Hujale, currently consulting for DLCI on matters pastoral cooperatives. Thank you.
Honorable Abdurrahman.
That's politics. Okay. My name is Abdurrahman Abbas from Frontier Counties, specifically project manager for the livestock sector support program, funded for the last 7 years by the Embassy of Switzerland.
Honorable Tumal.
Okay, asante sana. Good afternoon, ama tunasema assalamu alaikum. Kwa majina ni Tumal Orto. Mimi ni mfugaji kutoka sehemu za Marsabit County all the way down in the lowlands of the Chalpi Desert. Wakati tunasema mfugaji, hata wanyama wengi ni lazima ni specify mfugaji wa ngamia, mbuzi na kondoo. Na pia katika hii forum mimi ni chairperson of county pastoralizations, which is 10 FCDC. Some of my members karibu 5 wako hapa pia, so karibuni.
Dr. Tahir Mohammed, say hi to the people. She's our reporter. So thank you again for assembling yourself on time. We are going to start. If you look at the program, we have about 5 panelists, but here you can see we are about 7. So we are going to give everybody 5 minutes, except one who is double presenting 2 presentations. Maybe we shall give him 80 minutes or so. With that, where is my presentation? Hello? Yeah, with that again, as I said before, this topic of pastoralism and livestock sector development, also I have spent a lot of my time from when I was born to now. I don't know how old I am, but you can all look at me and guess how old I am. I've been in this sector, also in the livestock sector, as a herder, as a technician, as a technocrat, as a policy developer, and now as a legislator in this sector. And I just want to quickly explore, the topic is exploring evolutions. What is pastoralism? Pastoralism is a lifestyle. We all know it's a lifestyle where we keep animals, sheep, goats, camels, and these days we also have bees. Bees is becoming very important, the livestock. We practice this in arid and semi-arid areas of Kenya, which is about 80% of the whole country. So we are very important in Kenya if we only decide to be very important. We contribute to food security, employment, and cultural heritage, and the livestock account 10% of the GDP and over 50% of the agricultural GDP. As you all know, that this country heavily depends on agriculture. And out of that agricultural GDP, which we depend on, 50% is contributed by livestock. Next slide. Pastoralism is a way of life. We are not pastoralists by default. We are pastoralists by design. Looking at the area where we are, until maybe technology devolves very well and we start getting other alternative land use, like maybe minerals, oil, and other things, we are obliged to be pastoralists, and to use our land effectively, we should keep our animals. But with climate change, we have to modify our way of livestock keeping. The people who keep livestock, for example, are the Maasai, the Somalis, the Boranas, the Turkanas, the Rendiles, Samburus, and others. Our livestock economy, primarily it is our wealth. In some of the societies who keep livestock, some of the pastoralists, people are told in meetings, you talk according to the size of your herd. If you have a big number of animals, if you have 200 herds of cattle, 100 camels, you'll be listened to very seriously. But if you have 3, you may not, even if you raise your hand, you may not get chance to be talked to. So it is very important in terms of status also and livelihood. You know that our life depends on the mobility. Depending on where the pastures and the waters are, we move from one place to another. And we usually used to have what we used to call seasonal grazing areas, dry season grazing areas, and wet season grazing areas. With the growth of population, we can no longer have areas set aside for some times, because our population is growing, new settlements are coming up, and therefore, that is why I am saying we should modernize our livestock keeping. Next. It's a long story, and I have very little time. So during the colonial time, our area was called the closed area. And from livestock development point of view, Kenya was divided into the clean and the dirty area. The clean area used to start from Timau, going that way. From Timau this way, Siolo, up to Mandera, and this side up to Moyale, Turkana, those were called the dirty area. So animals from those areas, unless they are put on a vehicle and taken to Nairobi for slaughter, they were not allowed to move on hoof to these areas, because the Wazungus used to say they were going to dirtify our animals. So that is, then land was subdivided. Our areas were called the native reserves. And as time goes on, the colonists also come up with their livestock, which were few in number but high producers in their clean area, while we keep on keeping our livestock. In 1920s, the colonial government began to offer basic veterinary services and focused on improving animal health. That is when we had people like people who are named after, injecting animals, like El Medurai. Those who come from Mandera, they know El Medurai. I hope he's still alive. I have not heard him. Yeah, they were shown how to inject, and that was our veterinarians. Yeah? And the land ordinance came, series of land ordinance, 1915, further marginalizing the pastoralist by favoring large-scale settlement with all the resources and the extension services that is available. Next. Okay, we formed, during that time, livestock marketing was formed. Animals were compulsorily culled. Culling means removing. If you are, the Mozungu sees you with 100 animals, he will tell you you must slaughter, sell, or kill 30% of them. And we are subjected to that. And our banks, our resources are all these livestock. So there was compulsory culling of animals at some stages. Historically, then there are some laws that were developed, like the Cattle Cleansing Act of 1937, that restricted movement of livestock, pastoralist livestock, to the area I was calling the clean area. Next. And then 1950, the Kenya Meat Commission was formed, and it was established as an institution for processing, marketing. And during that time, there was there was something we used to call stratified livestock keeping system. It started during that time with African livestock marketing, which later on changed into LMD, Livestock Marketing Division, at independence. During that time, pastoralists were to produce the animals, rear them for a short while, and livestock marketing LMD will come, buy as many animals as possible, move them to the holding grounds, like Isiolo holding ground, and many other holding grounds in this country. And on the way, there used to be something called the stock routes, where there were water facilities, livestock handling facilities. Our marketing system strategy was far much better those days than it is today. Next. You know, I've given myself also 5 minutes, so I should not break that rule and then impose it on others. Okay, we are still in Kenya. Okay. Okay, there was also range management division was formed in some areas, like particularly the Maasai land. They were subdivided into what is called group ranches. Group ranches, which were later subdivided further into individuals, and a lot of the Maasai sold their land, since they were very close to cities like Nairobi and other places, and later on they had problems on where to graze their animals. Okay. Formation of a livestock marketing board. This board was formed, it was not formed. This board was not formed. There was a bill in the 11th Parliament which attempted to form livestock marketing. It did not go through. In the 12th Parliament, we revived it, we pushed it through National Assembly, finished it, and took it to the Senate. It died there. But sometimes in 2023, the President gave a directive that it should be formed. But up to today, it has not been formed. And I think it is one of the things we want to give to the President tomorrow, to tell him we want you to look at us and appoint a chairman of the board, because there was already presidential directive, and then the minister appoints the rest of the, so maybe that is what we shall propose ourselves, and if you endorse it, we are going to take that to the President tomorrow. But it has not been formed. Okay, next. Hii ni mrefu sana bana. Hii tuko post-independence. Ndio nimesema. Endelea, next. Modern era. Structural adjustment programs. This one has really affected us. I remember before structural adjustment program, There were effective extension services. There were veterinary services which were very effective at the district level, at the divisional level. We used to have staff, and there used to be routine vaccinations of animals. But when the structural adjustment program came, and these things declined seriously, but fortunately there were NGOs in our area and other development agencies which continued with some of the services. But the difference between when it was being done by government and when it is done by NGOs, NGOs are normally localized, either in a county or in a constituency or in a small area where they can give the service. But if the neighboring area is not that NGO's mandate, or it is the area where it is not working, then those animals on the other side are not vaccinated. Then it means there will be no much help. So in 1990, livestock, ASAL policy was formed, and the government and international organization began paying more attention to the ASAL areas. But due to drought and famine, the problem continued. Next. Key milestones, yes. In livestock management, establishment of KMC was a very key milestone. During that time, actually, we used to export meat. Kenya used to export meat to European countries, which today we are not doing because of phytosanitary problems that has come. So there was a livestock, national livestock policy which was developed. Livestock introduction, the livestock insurance scheme. Those who have made use of the livestock insurance scheme must have benefited so much. But the problem with our people is that sometimes insurance, there is a lot of stories about it. But those who have used the livestock insurance policy, particularly when droughts are approaching or during droughts, they have really benefited. And still, the program is ongoing. Development of regional disease diagnostic labs. Yeah, a lot of lab were established, although not very close to the production areas. Like maybe in Northeastern, I think there is one in Garissa, and then maybe in the South Rift Valley, North Rift there is only one in Nakuru, but at least this is an attempt. Next. Future pastoral opportunities that we have. There is now a policy of community land registration. You know, our land is a communal land. It belongs to nobody or it belongs to everybody. And when a thing belongs to nobody or everybody, nobody manages it effectively. So there is the introduction of now community land. We are encouraging community land registration so that the community of a certain area, maybe a certain constituency, register their land, come up with a land management issue. We are encouraging the formation of cooperative. This is why I was saying, with climate change, with population growth, with limited resources, we should change our tactic of livestock keeping. So we are encouraging cooperatives. A whole presentation on livestock cooperatives will be done. This morning you were shown how Mheshimiwa Kajiado was conserving grass, hay, or silos, and how he is very sure that even if 2-year drought comes, his animals will not be affected. He will be able to go through those because of growing fodder and storing it properly. So that is now our intention. I know water is the most critical issue for us to establish fodder production, but as water availability or water harvesting techniques improve, we also need to improve forage production and storage for future. Otherwise, we shall be always at the mercy of the climate change. Veterinary service. and marketing infrastructure and disease control, it is now the high time to make sure that we keep our livestock as a business. We must know what inputs we are giving to these animals, and we must know what are we getting out of those animals. Days of just keeping them and not even valuing or keeping records of what inputs we are giving to the animals, those days are gone. So we must keep our livestock as commercial livestock keeping. Climate change is with us. That is where we need further production and conservation. Next. Conclusion, pastoralism remain a cornerstone in our Kenya's economy. I've already said, until maybe otherwise we get another land use for our land. Maybe we get oil or maybe some very precious minerals. As we are now, we have no alternative but to keep our animals. Strategic investment and policy reforms are key in securing the future. That is what we are doing. We need to get inputs from the livestock keepers themselves, and then we formulate policies and laws. So our call to action is support pastoralism by addressing historical challenges and leveraging in the modern solution. I hope that's the end. Next. Is there next? Oh, you can see our acacia trees there, and thank you so much. For questions and clarifications, take note. After all the presentations, you will be able to ask questions, and they will be answered effectively. Next presenter is, according to the records here, the Director of Livestock, on a topic of holistic approach to livestock sector in pastoralist areas. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. I think you have said all. It's arid and semi-arid areas. And these areas are the future frontier for food production of our country. That is the reality. In the next 20 years to come, this is the counties that is going to be the frontier food production of our country. And it is time for this country to prepare for that initiative and for these counties to be developed. If I may say something about what my senior has said, the Livestock Marketing Division. It was indeed established in 1954 as part of the agricultural intensification strategy. The Livestock Marketing Division supported the livestock farming in order to achieve competitive prices for the livestock. And this was a public-led initiative. And that was when there was commercialization of livestock. The farmers had a reliable market which was giving them a stable price for their livestock. And there was that form of commercialization of livestock which is not existed now. In 1994, the government discontinued its direct role in livestock marketing as part of the structural adjustment program. And this has led to inefficiency, resulting into high transaction cost. It has also led to unstable prices of livestock and insecurity. And that was where the rain has really beat us in the livestock subsector. Indeed, I must say that livestock subsector, if managed well, is a wealth distributor, wealth creator, and job creator, if it's actually done very well. Countries like Botswana, Uruguay, with less number of animals are doing that. one question that, again, we need to ask ourselves is pastoralism tenable in current circumstances? It's a question that we need to ask ourselves. And I say yes, if it is married together with a proper management or proper farming or new technology, in the cooperation of new technology. Do we have the market for our livestock? Yes, I must say that it is there. As a country, our annual consumption demand for the red meat stands 600,000 metric tons. And what we produce, I don't know what is happening, but I can still shorten these things. Well, I'm not seeing the presentation here. You will have time to read. I'm sure it's going to be shared with you. The annual consumption demand for red meat is 600,000 metric tons. And what we produce as a country is 495,000 metric tons. So we still have a deficit of over 200,000 metric tons. There was also a question that was talked about today about the strategy and policies. I must say that we are not short of, honorable members and colleagues, we are not short of strategies and policies in our country. The question is only implementation of those strategies. And we keep on developing strategies when we have not implemented those strategies that are there. When I became the director of livestock production 3 years ago, the first assignment I did was to go through those strategies, and I saw 26 strategies for livestock development in arid and semi-arid areas. And none of those strategies has been implemented. So the elephant in the room is not that we are short of ideas in terms of developing the livestock subsector. Is because we do not have funds to implement those strategies that we have developed. That is the whole issue. The great minds and the ideas that was put in a paper will not be implemented simply because of resources. That is our strength in terms of livestock population in our country. And we are number 3. Sorry, I think I have the voice. We are number 3 in terms of in the continent. Number 1 is Ethiopia, number 2 is Tanzania, and we are number 3 in terms of herd size in the continent. That's what the map I was trying to show you, the 4%, and that arid and semi-arid areas have the capacity to give us 40% of the production of red meat in our country. The mainstay is what my senior has already said. Next. Challenges. Next. Weak policies and regulatory framework. We have almost 8 institutions supporting our livestock subsector, and they are existing through the mercy of a legal notice. One of them is the Kenya Animal Genetic Resources. The other one is Kevevapi. Those are institutions that could have supported development of our livestock sector. The livestock bill is also another one. It was taken to Parliament in 2020. It was withdrawn, just simply because of an issue which was raised by an apiculture platform. And then it came back, and then we went back to the people for public participation. We returned it back. Just 4 or 5 months ago, it was also in the floor of the House, and it was withdrawn. And those were the bill that could really have supported us. Because in it, there is this institution that needs to be recognized. so that we are able to regulate the production function of the State Department of Livestock. That's where we are now. Number two is inadequate water for livestock and domestic use. This is obvious. It's an enabler that we need to provide. Sometime during the time of drought, and animals trek for almost 30 to 40 kilometers in search of water. Inadequate fodder and feed for our livestock. As a country, we are 6% feed deficit. During the time of plenty, we don't harvest our forage, we don't harvest our feeds, or if we harvest, there's inadequate storage facilities. That is the situation, and as a result of not harvesting and conserving, all the pastures go away, and then we are back again to square one, saying that our animals are dying as a result of lack of it. Next. Disease and pest. Outbreak of diseases and pests, especially during drought and floods. You know, ourselves are vulnerable to hazard shocks like drought, floods. When there's enough rain, there's also the flood, which is a challenge. When there's no rain, there's a drought. So we are in these kind of scenarios, and then the diseases, and especially so, the threat-sensitive diseases like the foot and mouth disease and PPR. These are the diseases that is not making us to have an access to the international market. Quality infrastructure and trade infrastructure, and because of the collapse of the marketing systems, just the way my senior has said, then there was undeveloped market structures, encroach and holding grounds. We have 112 holding grounds scattered across the country. Part of them has been grabbed, but still we still have a chunk of land that we can be able to give to any private investor to develop large-scale pasture production. Slaughterhouses was something I think that we have, somebody has talked this morning. We have 11 slaughterhouses which are not operational. I think it has been done through the stimulus program. So we have quite a number of them scattered across the ASAL counties, but indeed they are not operational. Insecurity and conflict in some part of the regions. This is an obvious case. Next. Opportunities that exist. Successful and scalable business model. We have the Kariakor Leather Common from Manufacturing Services that provide shared resources and equipment, allowing artisans and business communities to produce high-quality leather goods. And all these things, we do have them, but they are not fully utilized. Emerging market and trade routes. For sure, the market access to our animals is there. If we are able to fix some of those issues that I've said, the foot and mouth disease and BPR, the demand for Kenya's meat is very high internationally and even in the Middle East. And that's where we do quite a number of exports. But we need to meet that standards. The phytosanitary measures has to be taken into account. And then enhanced compliance with trade standards is the one I've really talked about, the quarantine facilities and also the national sanitary and phytosanitary strategies, which currently the country has domesticated it. We have 3 certified quarantine facilities for livestock slaughter. The Lamu Port facility is also there. And 7 certified export meat slaughterhouses spread across the country. So these are our strengths, that we have those facilities which are underutilized. The infrastructure, I think, is something that we are closely working with the county governments to ensure that we have market sustainability that's allowing sharing of revenues. Private sector investment, that I think that's where we have a big problem. Nobody wants to invest in the livestock business. Yet it is, we know for sure it is well paying if properly managed. And an issue that we need to focus more is on the value addition and the cold chain logistical investment. But you cannot do cold chain without fixing the issue of power, isn't it? So if I was to ask His Excellency the President for a kiosk, I will have just simply say, give us our tarmac road and the power. And then the private PPPR, I think we have talked about 450 feedlots. Yeah, surely I'm coming to an end. Yeah? If we can be able to deploy PPR partnership, I think it's okay. Then currently we are establishing 4 modern feedlots in those 4 counties. And then the other thing is that can we aggregate the pastoralists into a cooperative so that they are able to negotiate for better prices. And next, ongoing programs. We have Kenya livestock commercialization programs. The objective is there. It's covering 10 counties. And out of that 10 counties, 2 are arid and semi-arid areas. That is Marsabit and Marsabit and Samburu. And the value chains are small stock, the beekeeping and poultry. Toward the end and route is also in 3 landscapes, the Chuli Hills landscape, the Sabarwawa and Mid-Tana. And basically it is restoration of regional landscape for ecosystem management adaptation. Next, because I don't have time. Drive project. This is the famous livestock insurance program, and I think the coordinator is there. Aoma, you can see him behind the center after my presentation. It has 2 components, the issue of livestock insurance and also supporting private sector. We have $40 million aligned in Kenya Development Corporation, and if there's any private investor who wants to establish, for instance, large-scale pasture production, then there's somewhere for you to collect that money and you'll repay it back. And then the other one is this is a project that has almost ended, and it was really focusing more on access to market and strengthening value chains. Next, institutions, livestock value chain support program. This is about the milk coolers. Currently, as it is, we have finalized the procurement of 230 milk coolers, and by March we should be able to install and distribute to. We are fulfilling the presidential announcement of the same. And finally, the restocking program. We are on course, and this is going to be a Christmas gift to the pastoralist, and we are focusing on 16 counties because the money was only 1 billion shillings, and we are on course to supply those small stock to our farmers. And I think we are going to be in consultation with the members of parliament, and the distribution will be in the constituencies, not the counties. So we divided those restocking in constituencies, not counties. Finally, we have institutions that support livestock. I've talked about the Kevebapi. That is their function, and I think the MD is here. The issue of the vaccines, national vaccination program, you can direct all your questions, but I can tell you that we are manufacturing our own vaccines, the foot and mouth disease and PPR. And then Kenya Veterinary Directorate, that is a function that is supposed to undertake. Next, Veterinary Board is a regulatory body for professionals in the veterinary field. Kenya Animal Genetic Resource, that is where we want our sister to fix us. Honorable members of parliament, can we support our sister with resources so that we get rid of this inbreeding? Because inbreeding is one of the biggest problems that we have in the livestock subsector. Then the leather is also an institution that supports our sector, Kenya Dairy Board and Kentech. Thank you so much.
Asante sana, asante sana. Can you give him applause? Yes, he has a lot to say, but you know, time is not with us. So can I invite the next presenter, Professor Abdi Yaqub Gulie, Bottom-Up Transformation Agenda, where the livestock is in the better agenda.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Aden Haji Yusuf, who was my, should I say we were schoolmates? Then they will say I'm as old as you. He was my campus classmate. As you have heard, I will be speaking briefly on the bottom-up economic transformation. This is a concept that has been formulated by this current government, and it is not properly understood 2.5 years into the accession of this government. And so we use every opportunity to shed some light on what it is, so that those who are actors in development, not just the national government, but also other actors in development, can understand and see where they can plug into the better bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Now, that's my presentation outline. I hope somebody's controlling. I have to say next. Next, that's just the presentation format. The plan, as it is referred to commonly in government circles, evolved out of rigorous consultations that happened in the run-up to the 2022 general election. And this is where the current regime that is in power, when they were trying to put up their documents together to convince Kenyans to vote for them, had extensive consultations across the 47 counties, and in each county they had a rigorous consultation that led to developing of individual charters for each of the counties. Now what happened was these charters were collapsed into one document, and because the lifespan of any government is 5 years, they had to make choices out of all the issues that were raised. What would they focus on in this particular 5 years term? And so that is how the bottom-up economic transformation was developed. It is the only policy in recent times that has been developed truly from the bottom-up going upwards. So the policy that is in the better is actually a grassroots-led initiatives or interventions. And therefore, the issues that were raised in all the 47 counties, including a separate sitting and discussion with youth and as well as women, resulted in identification of 5 key areas. One of them is agriculture, then MSMEs, and this is where the Hustler Fund is accommodated, affordable housing, which you're all aware of, digital and creative economy. The e-government is particularly in response to this, and then the health sector. And the SHA is the primary module for implementing the universal health coverage. So these are the 5 pillars that were clustered into the issues that were raised. And because in each of them, we may not be able to do a thorough job given the limited lifespan of this government, they had to do selective initiatives in each of those areas. Now, agriculture is the pillar. Out of the 5 pillars that were identified, we consider agriculture as the mother pillar. And this is because it is the largest sector in our economy, and it contributes nearly double to our economy, a quarter directly and another quarter indirectly. And for that, it is the most important sector in as far as the beta plan is concerned. We know 2/3 of Kenyans derive either all or part of their incomes from the agricultural sector. And at household level, almost 54% of expenditures are actually around food. And so this is why agriculture is the anchor pillar, even among the 5 pillars that were identified in the beta plan. And so the rest you can read for yourselves. But in terms of commitments, there are about 6 or 7 commitments that were taken, that are contained in the beta pillar on the agricultural sector. One is to provide adequate, affordable working capital to farmers, and this is through affordable credit, which is ongoing. Deploy modern agricultural risk management instruments such as the crop and livestock insurance schemes, which is already operational in certain parts of the country, commodity market instruments, and so this is to ensure that farming is profitable and incomes are predictable. Thirdly, it was to transform about 2 million poor farmers from food deficit to food surplus. And there are strategies which I will come to talk about them later on how this has been achieved. And we believe partly it has been achieved already. Raise productivity of key value chains. Particularly, we are a maize-eating country. We are an ugali country. And therefore, it's to raise maize acreage in bags in terms of production, 8 to 15 bags an acre, from 8 to 15 bags an acre. Dairy, 2.5 to 7.5 liters a cow per day. Beef carcass weight from about 100 to 150 to 170 kgs carcass weight. So that is the targets that we've set ourselves. Reduce dependence on basic food imports by 30%, and this is particularly on oil crops. A lot of the edible oils that we use are all imported. Nearly all of them are imported, but we have had since rolled out strategies to ensure that we reduce reliability on oil crops for our own domestic use. The other strategy or the other commitment is to revamp underperforming and collapsed export crops. So this is to try and increase the income that we get nationally from some of our agricultural products. Next is on how are we achieving these interventions. One is to organize farmers into multi-value chains. As it is now, farmers are commodity-based, having commodity-based cooperatives. You will hear of a dairy cooperative, you will hear of a coffee cooperative, you will hear of tea cooperative and all that. And in each of these cooperatives, farmers are making payments in terms of overheads, whether it is membership or other operational overheads. So a lot of the resources that they gain from their production purposes goes towards meeting these operational expenses. So to reduce these operational expenses, we are trying to ask farmers to be clustered into commodity-based, not commodity-based, but in a ward-based cooperative, which has multi-value chains. So that's one of the interventions. Secondly is to increase productivity. The interventions are through provision of fertilizers, and this has been implemented, and we are now transiting to e-vouchers for fertilizer provision. We are also introducing in the near future subsidies, e-subsidies for semen. And this is something which will be rolled out soon. We have had interventions based on provision of seeds, quality seeds, and then revamping the extension services model. The other intervention is reduction of post-harvest losses, and this has been achieved largely, particularly for milk products. It's providing cooling facilities for evening milk so that it doesn't go bad. And we have had a lot of distribution of milk coolers. We also have had in areas where we grow cereals, provision of maize dryers to ensure that, we reduce the number of people who are having their maize dried on the roadside. I'm sure you've seen this happening in most of the maize growing areas. So we want to have them, dried hygienically, and so there is a lot of provision of maize drying facilities to improve on, to reduce on losses. The increasing of value addition is the other strategy that the government will employ in terms of ensuring that the value of these agricultural products actually increased so that they can fetch better prices, whether it is local or out of the country. Now, commodity markets development is another strategy where we are going to have the better market-driven transformation aims to address the challenges around agricultural marketing, through a modern marketplace. We call it commodity exchange, linked to a certified bonded warehouses with a functional warehouse receipt system. So this is something where farmers, instead of worrying about where to sell, after they have harvested, they will be taking their produce to warehouses that are certified after receiving, and then the goods will be sold over time to fetch good prices for them instead of rushing them to sell after harvest. So this is another intervention that the government has already started rolling out. Now, this is a slide that just shows the value chains. We have the value chains where we intend to to increase production to ensure food security. Those value chains that we are trying to ensure that we reduce import in those areas, and those we want to grow exports. Now, in terms of livestock, I'm sure you are fairly familiar with these statistics. We have 22 million cattle, 5 of which are dairy, the rest are beef animals, 33 million sheep and goats, 22.8 million sheep, 4.4 million camels. And the contribution of livestock has already been articulated in the morning, and I don't need to repeat that. But in terms of dairy sector, the target is to produce milk yield per cow from 3,433 liters to 6,629. And there are a number of interventions that we are trying to pursue to ensure that this is achieved. And as I mentioned, one of them is the milk cooling facilities, improved AI services, and ensuring that the capacity of farmers are also enhanced in terms of their production knowledge. The beef sector, this might be of interest to the ASAL counties. The government has formulated a program, we're calling it beef fattening centers. We've also heard about it in the morning. We intend to have eventually 450 beef fattening centers in each of the wards in 30 counties, ASAL counties. The intention is to ensure that we have an area around 5,000 acres which will be securely fenced, and the water will be provided for purposes of not just giving water to animals, but also for growing pastures. So if every ward will eventually have this facility, then the livestock losses will reduce over time. So that is the key highlight in terms of the beef sector. Of course, we also intend to improve and upgrade our beef animals. We are in discussions with Indian government to improve animals that have been proven over time that are multi-purpose or dual purpose, meaning they can give you milk, but they are also good meat animals. So these are animals that we intend to bring in and crossbreed with our local breed Boran cattle, which is mostly common in the ASALs. And we will use that, the CAGRIC, as the vehicle for doing that. Now, this is just a schematic representation of the beef fattening centers. There will be an area set aside purposely for pasture growing. The pasture will be harvested and stored in hay storage facilities within the fattening centers, and the pasture will be sold to pastoralists in the dry season when there is shortage of feeds, so that they see value in the area that has been secluded. And the rest of the land will also be grown, other pastures will be grown, which will be used to fatten animals. So animals that are around the beef fattening center, the pastoralists can bring in the animals into the center for purposes of improving their body condition. You have heard that if we can increase the carcass weight from maybe 100 to maybe 170 or 150, then we can fetch huge amounts of potentially income that farmers are currently losing. So that is the other value chain is on the leather sector. I think leather sector, the Kenani Industrial Leather Park is the vehicle for improving the leather sector in this country. The park is almost 95% complete, and it will be operational very soon. There are a lot of investors that have already lined up to take up spaces. The challenge is on us, the livestock producers, to ensure that we start recovering hide. Because right now, hide recovery is at about 25%. Assuming we are slaughtering 3 million animals and hide recovery is only 25%, it means majority of it is going to waste. So we need to think about and how to strategize on hide recovery. Finally, that is the Kenani. Finally, with animal breeding, I think we are already, as I mentioned before, we are already procuring a lot of semen, particularly for the dairy sector. We call it sexed semen, which will be used in the dairy sector. There will be almost 2 million doses of semen straws from Kagrik bulls that will be availed to dairy farmers across the country. We also hope that there will be 2 million semen straws for dual-purpose breeds, the ones I have mentioned. We have Red Cindy and Gir that we have identified, and these two breeds are fairly developed in the Indian subcontinent in areas similar to our environment. So we need to also, we will roll out an animal animal health improvement program, and where there will be a lot of, in terms of disease control, you have had the president pronouncing himself to 22 million cattle being vaccinated against FMD, and I think 50 million against sheep and goats against PPR. So these are some of the strategies that the government is trying to use to ensure that we increase livestock productivity as contained in the better agenda. Thank you very much.
Applause, give him applause. It's very difficult to give a professor the mic and then you tell him 5 minutes. He's used to determine his own timing. Can you clap for him, please? Okay. The next presenter is Diat, who is going to give us Pastoralist, Livestock Cooperative Development in Pastoral Areas. Siad, please, 5 minutes.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. I'll be very brief. My name is Diad Hujale. My responsibility is simple: to work on pastoral cooperative, pastoralist livestock cooperatives. Next. Next. Hello. Next. Okay, good. This discussion came up from a Kajiado meeting where experts from the region had a meeting, and there was a recommendation that we should be talking about livestock cooperatives, but not livestock, but pastoralist livestock cooperatives. The idea is the Ministry of Cooperative should set up a unit, a dedicated unit, purposely to set up Kenya Pastoralist Livestock Cooperative as a unit. It will take the shape of either KTDA, Kenya Tea Development Agency, or dairy, coffee. The few of us who are in cooperative sector, you'll see that cooperative has actually grown very well only in Mount Kenya region and Kisii in the whole country. In the 15 counties of Vassal, there is nothing. There are no cooperatives. I can say confidently. An example, Wajir, there are 6 groups that have certificates, cooperative certificates that were assigned to them by the ministry, but nothing much. Next. Why invest in pastoral livestock cooperatives? And I'll highlight the term pastoral must be there because there are other livestock cooperatives in the highlands. So we have to be very particular in adding the name pastoralist livestock cooperatives. One is to address the historical inequalities, historical underdevelopment, underinvestment by the government. If you look at the figures by the government, national government, you'll be shocked. It's so huge in the sector of cooperatives. Next. Unlocking the economic and climate resilience. We have the potential, it's home to 70% of Kenya livestock, that everybody knows. Camel milk, goat, camel meat is in high demand locally in the local market and globally. It will boost our income and foreign exchange. Next, because of time. Why invest in pastoral livestock cooperatives? The third one, it is transformative impacts, aligning with the national goals. Professor Gulia has talked of the bottom-up transformation agenda. It aligns very well. It also aligns with Vision 2030, the food security. On socio-economic benefit, It will directly benefit 2.3 million households when we talk of the 15 counties. Indirectly, 50% of Kenyan population. It boosts GDP, formalizing ASAL livestock economy. Regional trade integration. You're aware there will be a lot of cross-border livestock trade between Kenya, Ethiopia. When you talk of, for instance, Marsabit, our neighboring Oromia region, there is a lot of livestock that comes from there. With Maasai community, we have a lot of livestock coming from Tanzania and Uganda, and our neighboring Somalia here. Next. The target is to establish 3,300 pastoral livestock cooperatives within 330 wards. In 66 constituencies, 15 pastoral counties, benefiting 2.3 million small-scale pastoral livestock farmers, indirectly impacting 50%. Next. Next, please. The key features of the project that we are proposing. One is the National Pastoral Livestock Institutional Framework. We are borrowing the KTDA format, where we have a national level Nairobi office, where that is the headquarters. We have the northeastern region covering Wajir, Garissa, Mandera, and we'll be talking of goat, sheep, camel development. We have the eastern region, where we'll be talking of cattle and camel development. Rift Valley region, cattle and goat development. Coast region, where we are proposing, we talk about the export infrastructure, goat and cattle development. We are expected to integrate from the village as the primary cooperatives, coming up to the ward, sub-county, county, regional, and then national. This, when we had a discussion with the Minister, DLCI, PPG, had discussion with the Minister for Cooperative, he was pushing we should be thinking at the regional level and national level so that we can attract more funding from the government. Number two, the component of agroforestry. I'm aware the Ministry of Environment is here. They are expected to grow 15 billion trees. We are proposing, if when they talk of 15 billion trees, 63% of that is supposed to be in our region. So we should push for the indigenous local trees so that we get enough pasture. Other key features is the infrastructure itself, dedicated livestock fund. This is to the MPs who are not here. We are proposing to the MPs if they can push for funds, specifically Kenya Pastoral Livestock Cooperative Society Fund. 2, Nomadic Goats Sheep Development Fund, Cattle Development Fund, Camel Development Fund. That is our proposal to the PPG. Next, please. As we finish, I'm given 1 minute. Next slide. A transformative vision of Kenya Pastoralists. Invest today for the resilience, economic empowerment of the ASAL region. We should be able to replicate the KTDA, which has been successful in Kenya. That is the proposal we are giving to the PPG. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for keeping MPs are here. The most senior MP is here, so he has heard you. Can you clap for him, please? Thank you so much. Our next presenter is Dr. Diba Dida. He is going to give us camel strategy and vaccination prioritization. Karibu, Daktari. Oh, before you... you have here Maurice Ouma, who is the Deputy Director of Livestock, the whole of Kenya, so he's not a stranger in the house. The director stepped out, so he's sitting in for the director. Okay.
Thank you. Please put up the presentation. Okay, thank you very much. As I said, my name is Dibadi Duako. I work for Masiko, Regional Livestock Program Director, funded by SDC and AFD. I'll take you through a brief presentation, first on vaccine service delivery, and then on camel. Please, I know you are tired, but just give me, energize yourself a little bit, and give me some minutes. I'll tell you exactly why this is very important. If you look at livestock population, we have, Africa has 33% of world's livestock population. So, and you see up there, they are all our breeds up there. Very important breeds. We know how important they are. We know how good they are in the traits that we keep them for. And when you come down to sub-Saharan Africa, we have almost the whole of African livestock population is in sub-Saharan Africa. This is 96%. That's very close to 100%. And coming closer home, IGAD countries have 35% of that, and Kenya has 7% of that. Next, please. And I will zero on in the animal health situation, in Kenya. In Africa first, and then in Kenya. The situation is really bad when it comes to livestock service, the animal disease control, and preventive service delivery. $9 billion dollars, that is dollars, $9 billion is lost to diseases every year in sub-Saharan Africa. $9 billion. That's a recent publication, very, very recent, 2022. And it looked at the entire sub-Saharan African countries. Kenya was among the countries that they looked at. And if you come closer home, if you just you hold all other factors constant and just zero in on the livestock population, you can say we are responsible for 35% of that loss. So our loss can be extrapolated or estimated to be 3.3 billion annually. That's the kind of money we are losing for not controlling diseases every year. And if you come closer home if you come closer home in Kenya, we have 7% of livestock population. So if you extrapolate that, so you can say we are losing over $600 million to diseases every year. That is how bad the situation is. And so you ask yourself, why is this happening? And I bring it down to one simple thing. It is happening because we are not controlling diseases. Diseases are controlled on an emergency basis. Donors and government officials mobilize resources when there is disease already on the ground and animals are dying. And by the time you get to the field, it's just political. It's nothing economically useful for you to do. So we are not simply controlling diseases. Coverage is extremely low in terms of vaccination. Frequency is extremely erratic. You have a small vaccination here this year, maybe sometime next year or the year after. It's less than 5% we are doing in terms of disease coverage. And when you look at, and another factor is, when you look at focusing on only public sector, the cost of vaccinating these livestock is very high. We looked at only 5 counties in northern Kenya in around 2018, and we came up with a figure, $21.2 million that government needs to put in only for 5 counties. That's close to 3 billion shillings every year to vaccinate diseases, and that is not happening because we don't have that kind of resources. So what is it that we should do? We should do what we call collaboration between the private and public sector to make sure that we share these resources. If you look at the private sector alone, if the private sector has a share in vaccine service delivery, at just a fraction of what I've shown you in the public sector, they can do the job. Why are they not doing the job? Because we have made the pastoralists to believe that vaccination service is done by government or donors, and we have also made the private sector actors not to come into this region because we keep distorting the market. So we must come up with a better model, and the better model is not either or, is collaboration between the two in sharing the resources. Next. So if you look at what we are proposing in terms of sharing resources in vaccination service delivery, we look at diseases that have been identified for eradication, like PPR. We look at diseases that are extremely trade sensitive, like FMD. We look at diseases like Rift Valley fever that has very serious public health consequences, and rabies in the same class, and CBPP that usually has some adverse reactions on the animal. So we put these diseases under public sector, and believe you me, if government, both national and county level, focused on these diseases, they will have their hands full. They won't have even the resources to cover this, leave alone right now trying to do everything. So we are proposing collaboration between the public and private sector, such that the private sector will handle the rest of the diseases, especially in our small ruminants and even large ruminants. And the list of diseases you can see is a quite long list. So in simple terms, this is what we urge the stakeholders to think of, policymakers to think of, and the technocrats to think of. Please let us do something practical and something realistic, like Mheshimiwa Moses said this morning. Let's be practical and let's share these resources. All the free things that we are currently doing, put them in infrastructure. Put them in cattle crashes, livestock crashes, put them in cold chain facilities, and share these infrastructure with the private sector to deliver the service delivery. That's my first part of the presentation. I move to the second and final part of my presentation. Next, please. This one, RG, this is, okay. So this is a topic that is very close to my heart. This is livestock, this is camel issue. We have nearly all the camels in the world here in Africa. 84% of all the camel population in the world is here in Africa. And if you come closer home, you skip next one step back, please. You are moving faster than I am. If you look at, please give me your ears. If you look at camel population in the whole world, this is an eye-opener whenever I present this to people. People think that Arabian camel are just found in Saudi Arabia and then neighboring countries. Camels are ours and they are in Africa. And we have 84% of camel population of the whole world in Africa. And Horn of Africa, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia alone has 33% of that. And that is under serious underestimation. Somalia, that used to lead camel population, is not counting camels, up to today is estimated at 7.1 million. And in 1988, it was at 6 million when the whole world was, I think, even close to just half of that. So we have huge camel population in simple terms. Next. And if you look at the first 10 countries in the whole world, you know, the first 8 countries, we own 80% of camel population in the whole world. Next. This is where I'm going with this. Having all this population of camels in Africa, including Horn of Africa and Kenya, we are always crying about unknown camel diseases. If you look at this list, I pulled this list from the media, from online posts, and this is the cry, the lamentations that we talked about this morning. In 2024, you know what just happened recently. We are talking of unknown diseases in the whole of northern Kenya. We are talking of sudden camel death, unknown camel death, mysterious camel diseases. Every year, all the way up to, I went as far back as 1999, but this list is endless. This is just a tip of the iceberg. This is the situation in camel disease, camel health. Next. If you look at even the diseases that the books have described, if you look at the causes of those diseases, they are still unknown. Somalis here would understand all these terms. You know Ruguta, you know of Hergeb, you know of Habat, you know of all those sort of diseases, Shimbir and all the neighbors of Shimbir. All these diseases up to today, we have no idea what causes them. And why is this important? It is important because if not for economic reasons, which I believe there is a lot of economic reasons attached to it, we have moral obligation to lead in research in these areas. We have moral obligation because we own the camel. We cannot wait and listen and look to the other part of this world to solve our problems. Next. In 2023 in December last year, that is in Garissa, when we were launching this new program, Mzee Dubat, a well-known elder, said, don't tell us that our camels have mysterious diseases all the time, all year round. Tell us they have been bewitched and we will believe you. This is not just what he said. It was how he said. If you were there present with that mzee, you would feel it. If you didn't feel it, I felt it. And that is the frustration of all the camel keepers. They have no idea what to do. Veterinarians like me, I'm a veterinary epidemiologist. I graduated with knowledge in 3 diseases: camel pox, camel thrips, and camel mange. The rest of the diseases, we have no idea what is happening. So, what are we saying? We must come up with a camel center of excellence for this region, and particularly in northern Kenya, because that is where the camel population is. And considering the triangle here, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, that would serve a very strategic point, and that is the simple task. All the story I took you through was to conclude in one statement. Camel Center of Excellence is overdue. We must establish that, and that is our ask to the President tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. When it comes to camels, you know, I sit the other side so that I see everything seriously. Now, we have not clapped for Daktari. With all, what happened to camel keepers? Okay. Now we are going to invite Abdurrahman Abbas. Musione dogo hivyo, amekula chumvi nyingi.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Adan. I'll be very brief, and I will donate half of my time to Malo Orto, who is an actual pastoralist. Most of us are digital pastoralists, so we shall really hand over power to them. Thank you. I was told just to sit in for Dr. Farah and to say a few things about where the county governments have been spending their money for the first 10 years of devolution. That is from 2013 to 2022. And how does that relate to the livestock sector? We have gone through all the COB reports for the first 10 years of devolution. And what I read will be the findings of what we found. Now, 780 billion was what was allocated to the 10 FCDC counties for the first 10 years of devolution. And not all counties were getting the same. For example, Turkana got about 140 billion, which is equivalent to Lamu, Samburu, and Isiolo combined. So as we talk about the counties, it's not that the counties are getting the same. So 10% in Lamu does not mean 10% in Turkana or Mandera for that matter. And less than 10% was spent on the livestock sector. We normally say that the majority of our people are pastoralists, they are livestock keepers, but at the same time, we spend less than 10% on the livestock sector. And out of that 10%, or the few percents we spend on livestock marketing. We want to market stock that is sick, that diseases are not controlled, as my friend Dr. Diba has said, that are thin and they do not have fodder, and on and on. And yet you expect to market those animals. So as a way forward, I will recommend that we spend more on livestock production and producing good stock that the market demands than actually spending on livestock infrastructure And a lot of that money went to abattoirs, livestock sale yards, etc. Now, the way we do livestock marketing is a bit different from the way other people do livestock marketing, in that the livestock production and calving is synchronized. If you look at populations like Somaliland, the bulls are kept out of the herd, or rather they wear aprons, and all of them are removed one time. That all of them produce at the same time, 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old. So when the Saudi asks us, give us 10,000 animals of the same age, in Kenya we can't get it. Because the ones we take to the markets are the ones with no udder, the ones that have poor walking ability, the ones that you just sell because your child is lacking school fees or there's a ceremony. So we don't organize our production for marketing purpose. So let me stop there. And, okay.
Applause for Abdurrahman. Very good. We are only left with 2 short ones, so relax, please. Now let me call Honorable Sankok, MB for 8 countries. 8 countries, when I'm only an MB for a constitution in a county.
Thank you very much, my elder, Honorable Adan Haji, who have been a very close friend of mine in the Till of Parliament. We are pleased also to have a governor and also a host of MPs with the chairman of deputy governors who is also here with us. I think mine will be quite brief. We also have Honorable Sunguli, who have been minister in charge of interior security during the Moi era. So everything that we will give will reach to the ears of the government. I will discuss about my bill. My bill. Thank you so much. My bill on leather industry, which was passed while we were in Kigali, Rwanda, and it is an East African community bill, which, in essence, ban importation of leather products into the East African community. East African community is an economic bloc with 350 million people. That is a market bigger than that of United States of America, meaning we have enough market. In East Africa, we slaughter approximately 11.5 million cattle without counting camels, sheep, and goats. 4 million die of drought, meaning we have 15 million cattle. Each cowhide can be able to produce 20 pairs of shoes. We are capable of producing 300 million pairs of shoes, but we end up importing 91 million pairs of shoes. Instead of exporting, we are importing. That is how retrogressive our thinking is, because most of our cowhide are eaten by hyenas and dogs because they are not being utilized. When animals are affected by drought, the hide and the skin is not affected by drought. The meat may not be edible, but the skin can be useful. The hide can be usable for the production of leather products like shoes, handbags, wallet, and so on. We in East Africa have already banned the importation of leather products. It is now the duty of parliaments of member states to initiate the same bill so that it can be ratified and be useful and be implemented in respective member states. Uganda have taken a lead. It have already banned not only importation of leather products, but also importation of all second-hand clothes. Finally, because I don't want to take a lot of time, Honorable members who are here, whenever we talk of coffee minimum returns, tea minimum guaranteed returns, sugarcane minimum guaranteed returns, we should also be talking about our minimum guaranteed returns in terms of our livestock, because we have never negotiated on the price of a kilo of meat, but they have always been negotiating on the price of sugarcane, coffee, and even maize. But for us here, we are just scattered all over. So our problem has been disunity. And I think the solution that was highlighted by David Ndi is that it is a political solution that is required. And because we have a governor here and a deputy governor here, I think those from the governors from Wajir, Marsabit, Garissa, Kajiado, and the rest of the counties who are finishing their term, they can go and sit and give us a political solution. Probably we should be having our own presidential candidate from the northern, from the pastoralist countries. Once we have the presidential candidate, we can be able to negotiate. Because if Dida was able to beat the political veteran like Mother Karua, what about if, for instance, we decide that the governor of Wajir contests for the president? We can be able to gather more votes. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate. And I think we should also address the issue of cattle rustling as a capital offense. Thank you so much.
I clap for him again. Okay, most of the people who have talked to us this afternoon, they got their knowledge through schools, university, books. Now I want to bring you somebody who has got his own knowledge from experience. Experience itself. Mzee Tumal. Karibu.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me lastly. Mine is a quick one. Yes, it is true, Mheshimiwa, that I come from a family who has been keeping camels since 1754. Not damu tachamuka zaidi. So now I wish I would have shared the pictures. So now, mine is, who is a successful mfugaji in Kenya, for example, including where Mheshimiwa comes from, Sankuli. And now, of course, we are talking of being a prestige, security, lakini tuwe commercial livestock keeper. By doing so, you should take care of your animals, good water, pasture, good animal welfare. Mina jua Somalia hata wapige ngamia, wanasukuma na mkono. That's a part of animal welfare. Then herds management, disease control. Daktari amesema, this is basic one, basic. Then if there's no peace and security, hakuna kitu itafanyika. I can give an example. About 33 years ago, in 1991, I bought camels from Wajir, and they're all driven down to Marsabit, to the lowlands of the Chalbi Desert. Mheshimiwa Kenan, by then, Elders was a small village. Mali alikuwa askari tu nakaa na bao hapo kidogo, less than 3, but today is a big town, I'm told. So, then, of course, we must have grazing lands, grazing fields for these animals. Breeds is very important. Hatutaki ile breeds ile wazungu na nini, lakini like the Borana bulls, one of the best breeds ya ngamia we found in Wajir. Ile anasaka bila maji siku 10. We have the Hor, we have the Shiftar na Gelabs. And then the Shiftar can do very well hata kule kwetu. Iko na maziwa, iko na nyama, kila kitu. Bwana Sankuli, if you are keeping small stocks, goats, kuja kwa gala goats in this part of the area to improve your small East African goats. I know those are the ones you are having. And now, then tunasema tena kuwa na wanyama ni baraka. Last time tumebakisha mbuzi, kuna mzee jirani yangu alibakisha, he left with 20 goats and 4 camels. Those goats are today 60 na ngamia ile imesaa ni 8. Market value huko kwenda kununua today it's between 600 to 700 physical kwa boma, imagine. But as the director says, ile wanyama wachache imebaki inafakiliwa na what we call PPR and non-camel diseases and all these things. So we have the market, but how shall we remove those barriers? Another thing is the data. Ile number tunasema 2.5 million livestock death, that figure is not justified. It's not only in Kenya, it is all of Africa. We are lacking the data. I just come from the other day, I visited Chad. Chad had got a good data. Kamole yao na mifuko yao yote imehesabwa vizuri. That's the only place that I found. Even in Nigeria and other areas. In East Africa, tunafanya tu even in region. All this is in estimates. So, then the other very important thing that should come out of this meeting is we need pastoral voice. We don't have a livestock association voice. Now, when I talk kule chini and when I'm standing here, sauti yangu nasikika zaidi. So, livestock platform associations, particularly in East Africa, we don't have. We don't have. So now, with those few remarks, tunasema asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Applause. Okay, we shall be ready to take few questions and concerns and comments and recommendations. But before that, just a minute, we present the conclusion of the whole presentation of the day. Where is it? Hello? PowerPoint presentation. Can you make it into a PowerPoint presentation? I can't read it unless you give me other glasses on top of mine. Adi? Point of order. I want to give you after this, because I want you to comment on the conclusion also. If you want to rectify, if you want to add, if you want to quickly, then I'll give you. Okay, this is the recommendation that we intend to present to the President from the livestock and pastoralist sector. So that's why I want you to listen keenly, see it, and then you may put your input. The first one is Livestock and Livestock Product Marketing Board. This is the board I've already talked about, which has been there in the Parliament, where there was a presidential directive to form it, but it never took off. The next thing is the cooperative. I think for those of you who are employed and you have SACCOs, you know how beneficial cooperative is. We are talking of cooperatives that are within the religious framework. The third thing is to form a department of ASAL. The department of ASAL should be moved to Office of the President for efficiency, effective coordination, resource mobilization, and an oversight. We want the department to move to the Office of the President for special attention. And number 4, there are a lot of slaughterhouses which are, some are complete, not operationalized, others are, so we would like them to be linked to the market and to operationalize them. The list is there. Number 5 is tanneries. For those of you who have lived long like me, a lot of the people who became rich in this region, the Asal region, are people who used to do hides and skin trade. They become multi-billionaires. Yeah, unfortunately, somehow we lost it. We want to revive it. The other thing is establishment of Camel Center of Excellence. It has just been said by Dr. Diba, you know, with the climate change, the camel will be the animal of the future for ASAL and the ASAL areas. Number 7 is the protection of pastoral grazing rangeland. This is where we will like to form communal registration of communal land, and also to see the range resources are not exploited unfairly. The last one is under the 15 billion trees that the president said we must plant. We need 63% of these trees, whose budget is 39 billion to the 15 pastoral counties. And we need to plant trees that are fodder, that can feed our animals during the drought, and also become a shade for us. Not just trees which are not consumable by animals, or trees that are fruits which can add into our nutrition. With these few remarks, thank you so much for listening to us. We are going to take few questions, clarifications, comment, answers, and the Secretariat is dapping whatever you are taking. Honorable. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Sawa. Okay, Mheshimiwa.
No, I have, thank you very much for those good comments. Mine are very short. And first of all, when you list the number of tanneries, I just wanted to inform you that we now have a tannery in Narok. It's called the Wasonyiro Tannery. And it is processing up to production of shoes. I think Mheshimiwa Sangok lives near there, and you can go to his hotel and then see the tannery. It is next there. That's one comment.
Okay,
but the other one,
included?
but the other, okay. There are two things that worry me. One, I know Dr. Guyo has started by saying the better, and he started, what do you call it? Gulier, sorry. Yeah. The bottom up, and then he started from there and then ended up with that. But in between, I was trying to see how the bottom up was working. There is one problem with the bottom up, with the bottom. We no longer have livestock officers. You don't find them in the rural area. Sisi in Kilgoris, if you want to vaccinate a cow, you have just to do it alone. Hakuna watu serikali wamefanya. I think it is important we ask ourselves, although we have devolved this thing, who is actually going to take care of our livestock? Because we are vaccinating them even with wrong things, but because there are no experts on that field. And lastly, when I was ambassador in China, I've done many things. The Chinese people told me that they wanted to buy hides and skins. So me, I was very interested as a businessman. I told them, how many can I supply? They say, if you can be bringing about 2 ships in a month. I calculated, if it is the one for goats, 1 ship would take 24,000 pieces. So two ships would require 48,000 pieces. Now, where would I get 48,000 pieces per month? And they say, if you are not prepared to do that for a year, we are not prepared to be let down in the middle. Why are we, and capping with that one, recently when I was sitting in the delegated legislation committee, they brought regulations from the ministry about to last year, which were saying that if you want to export livestock products, you have got to pay taxes up to 80% of the product. Obviously saying don't do it. Now, my thing is, if you want to say as Kenya, we don't want to export those things, and yet we are having them rotting in our houses. Okay. Why don't you get this into a business we give it to the country. All of us get the 48,000 to take to China. Our people make money as we prepare in Kenya to be able to be good consumers and make shoes out of it. Thank you very much.
Okay, panelists, please take note. We shall take a few more. Mzee wangu, you'll be the next. Patia microphone.
Kwanza asante sana mheshimiwa. Mimi kwa jina naitwa Golicha Galagalo. Anatoka Marsabit County, haswa sub county ya Moyale. Nimepitia kwa uongozi maka 30 juu ikiwa nachaguliwa as a councillor of that area, MCA. Kwanza nyinyi waheshimiwa wako hapa, akiwa mmoja wao ni wewe saa hii mwenyekiti wetu natuelekeza. I wish even the governors and sitting senators and member of parliament, they were supposed to be here. Sababu gani nimesema? Kuna jambo kidogo nilistajabu. Gani hiyo? Nitaenda direct tu. Leo asubuhi mimi nasikiza kuna maswali nyingi litokea kwa jambo ambaye imejitokeza hapa kwa wataalamu. Mimi nafikiri nyinyi ni ikiwa nasema sasa kama county 15 governors, member of parliament sijui wani ngapi 106 na senator karibu kota hiyo, nafikiri nilikuwa nafikiria hizo jambo yote nyinyi najua, sababu nyinyi nawakilisha sisi at a national level. Kwa hivyo hizo mambo nyinyi mnajua ambaye shida ya watu wenu. Mimi nikisema hivi wengine wanachukua endakawa mimi najaribu kuingilia. Mimi sina elimu hivyo. I have no interested the member of parliament or senate or the governor. Mimi hata ile council nilikuwa huko nimewacha kwa vijana sababu nimetawala karibu mwaka 45 nimewaachia. Kwa hivyo I have no interested at all. Akiwa wanafikiria kwamba mimi naweza gonga hawa kwa sababu ya kisiasa. Hata hiyo ukifikiria ni ya kwangu, sio ya taifa hivi wabunge ama senator ama governors. Okay. Hii ni jambo ambaye mimi naona hapa. Hiyo inasema kwa sababu watu wasinichukue vile mimi nasema kwa ubaya. Hata wakichukua kwa mfano hiyo vile mimi najua na Mwenyezi Mungu ameniweka, sitaki kusema uongo, na mimi kwangu naona kama ni kweli na kweli tupu. Okay. Nitasema sasa. Ya kwanza kwetu kwa mfugo vile last drought tulikosa mali kila moja wenu. Wewe kwa sababu watu naomba wewe mambo mingi, shule, hospitali, nini, hata ukipea yote haitafika contentency yako. Hiyo mimi najua. Sio kwa uchuki, lakini kwa sababu vile wananchi sasa anaitisha handout, nyinyi hapana naweza kutembea kwa umma, lakini kwa sababu wanatembea kuomba, na mnajua kutoka kale watu wetu hawajui kuomba, sababu wakati huu mali wamekosa ndio naombaomba. Je, ukigusia mfugo wetu gamia, gombe, mbuzi, gondo tunayo. Mimi nafikiri wataalamu wanaweza kusema kwamba kuna vitu kama 14 ambaye naweza kutekelezwa na kuletwa ya kuinua watu kutoka mali yalikuwako mpaka hapa kidogo juu. Je, wacha hiyo hata kuendesha juu. Mimi sioni hata ungozi. Wakati vile wewe nasema mimi nafurahia sana. Tulikuwa tunapata pesa mzuri, tunatoa nje, ikafungwa, sharia ikatolewa ikafunga endi, tunarudi kwetu. Kwa Kenya kuna few factories ambayo kumbe ndakawa wameweka njia hii na njia hii kuua sisi economically. Okay. Vile mimi naona. Kwa hivyo hiyo nyinyi mshikamane, muondoe hiyo kutoka huko, wabunge wa governor na senate, ambieni hiyo kazi. Wacha iwe hii China wanakuja, wanaumiza sisi. Wanakuambia tunaumpa wewe per skins, goat or sheep, 7 to 100. Ukikuja nayo 12,000 ton, wanachukua 1,000 ndani, ile ingine anakuambia we don't need it.
Okay, okay.
Wewe hakuna namna ya kufanya, unawacha huko na wacha wanaenda. Kwanza China ikiletwa hapa wanatuumiza kabisa.
Okay.
China asiingilie hiyo moja, hiyo soko ifunguliwe. Na pia gombe gombe na nini lazima tafutiwe dawa, sio vile daktari alivyosema. Asifanywe gombe, gamia, dawa specialist hiyo center ijengwe area hizi, ile ambayo kutoka Garissa paka area ya ENFD mali anaweza kuwa na kuwa center. Okay. Itufunguliwe.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Dr. Tahira.
Haya, asante basi, sijamaliza.
Hujamaliza? Pole. Haya, wamekusikia, wameandika. Dr. Tahira.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Tahira Mohammed. I work with the International Livestock Research Institute based in Nairobi. I have 3 things to say. Number 1, this year, 2024, is the International Year of Camelids across the globe, and it's coming to an end. So in regard to this, we've documented the lives and livelihood of camel keepers, especially the young people and women who are in camel milk marketing value chain, and we have the exhibition at the booths there, one with ILRI and CRDD. And number 2, from all the discussions here, one thing that is very important that I want to raise is the importance of extension services that have worked especially in the early 1980s and 70s, linking pastoralists to services, because we talk of providing services, especially big fodder production or even, for example, marketing, but is it accessible to people? And to which people? Are young people accessing this? Are women accessing this? We have to consider this key point. And finally, value addition. Energy is very important. While we were documenting the camel milk value addition, we've seen places people were given coolers, but the solars were not working. So we must ensure that these services that we're giving are not short-lived. We want the long-term effect of this, and energy is really important, especially in investing in those remote areas. Thank you.
Okay, good input. Ukisimama sema jina yako alafu ndio watu wakujue.
Thank you so much for the good session we have. My name is Ruben Kamurengatia, Deputy Governor Laikipia, and also the Chairman of the Deputy Governors. I think my quick reaction is on 3 points. 1 is a synergy within the departments, whether national or the county governments. When I talk of synergy, I know under the Department of Trade, they started a very nice project, Dr. Guru, on county aggregation parks, whereby the mindset was to aggregate the various products, what you are good at, if it is chemo, if it is honey, aggregation of all those products. So if we can come up with a formula whereby there is a lot of synergy within the departments, that either the national or the county government, it will be a good thing for us. If you go to Department of Agriculture, still aggregation in terms of what we can be able to tap from that end. Someone talked about livestock officers. That is the county government functions. Yes. So how do we now synergy the same with the other donors, the partners, so that at least all of us can have one circle? Number 2 point is on equalization fund. Someone yesterday mentioned about the idea was very good, but we ended up splitting to very small values. So these are high time maybe from the members of parliament and other stakeholders. What can we do now to return the same formula whereby we capital incentives on specific projects? I liked what Dr. talked about, CAMO project. If all of us within the 15 counties, if all of us from the 106 MPs, we now zero down to that chemo production. Excellent center, yeah. And also what he talked about, leather production. Who is good at leather production? All of us aggregate from that angle. Okay. So equalization of funds to support those key specific capital intensive projects. It will be a good thing for all of us. But the discussion is good. The issue is when will we start now doing the action part.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator Abbas, I'll give you.
Okay, thank you so much, and I think I want to thank the team
many hands, huh?
for all the recommendations. Haji, I think those recommendations are the same things that we used to sing in the 80s, me and you. The same things. We want to have a paradigm shift, my
So
friend.
can you give us a solution now? That we have reached this age.
No, we want to have a paradigm shift from those kind of stories. Business of laboratories and all these things now are not working. One thing is actually resource base. This government is only giving 10% of the agricultural budget is given to livestock.
Less than 10.
Less than 10.
Yeah.
And you will never get any other money. So one thing is budgetary issues. Two, livestock keepers do not produce for the market. We cannot be able to compete with the international markets. We cannot even be able to compete with Somalia. So we must think of a breeding system. That way we can have a quality animal, so that we can be able to compete in the market, in the international market. Two, there must be a deliberate move. The government, even our own counties, don't have any input for the livestock sector. They're still creating bushes in the wilderness, want to plant food, crops. I don't know why they want to do it. So I think what we need to have totally, these all the stories of quarantine, marketing things, quarantine, what we need is, of course, the quarantine facility, even the port system, in Basa, you cannot even load animals. There's no facility for animals to be exported. So I think we need to have some changes. So what I would say is, one is budgetary issue. Two, extension services. We must have a deliberate move to improve our
counties when Munaskia. County governors and deputies, Munaskia, extension service.
The only thing I request is actually some money, additional funds for the counties, or a deliberate move by the government to give a budget.
Okay.
And
Al-Haji Muzeh, Abdul Shukri, my friend there from Tana River, whom I've worked with very closely before.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa.
That's over there. Pati Shukri, while you are preparing yourself. Pati Shukri. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, and the rest of the panelists. Abdurrahman, who is very mean with the talks. He just touched and ran away from it in less than 2 minutes.
Which is very good.
Which is very good according to you. Professor Gulia, Mheshimiwa ambao anaongoza nchi ngapi, nchi nani, na daktari, na director, na ortho. You know, if I want to say just two things in Kisomali. وعلى يري نين ريرويو صلاة عيد ماذا يري الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لسكت بالعلنا بايرات بايلي ورا الكيس قبل لاد الله أكبر هالبو جاي موزاي واقيل جرن كان هالكيس قبل لاد ورثوات هلا مدي لباد أفكر وانكو هذه الدنيا علمي كله أو سومالي لا يتغانو فولي البدن شرعي كان يجرا كوالا غوري
عجب تقدر
هل شرعي
يقوى توينغا وجيك سومالي ومانزا كوندوكا
what is happening?
Yes.
There are so many laws and sharias that we can use. The Somalis say, a coward with so many sticks. These are so many laws that can help us do things. Long time ago, these laws have been enacted. We run from this one this year, the other one we run to this one. This president comes and runs away from this, the other one goes to this one. What is happening? So, but really we need to appreciate. Of course, over the years, things have been done. A lot of things have been done. No doubt evolution has improved the life of the people. I'm not very sure whether I really catch up the bottom up of Professor Gulia, but no doubt that is to say you have to start from the bottom and go up instead of blueprints from up and instructing people to do what they want to do. It's a good approach. So, Mheshimiwa, things are not too bad, but we have all the opportunity.
Okay.
We have the opportunities, the devolution with us here. We have a little fund. If you want to do something, you have seen the figures, how much we are spending on livestock. Is less than 10%.
Yeah.
From all the counties.
Okay.
We need just to improve on those. You know that I'll be through in 6 minutes. Mheshimiwa, not only like a gathering like this one. Outside this one, the leadership at the county level and the national level from the frontier counties really need to come together and do something.
Okay, Haj.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Abdi Shukri.
Thank you,
and then
Mheshimiwa.
Tanariva, and then you last.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. My name is
Director
Honorable
Barwa.
Muhammad Ibrahim. I'm a member of County Assembly from Mandera. I chair the Committee on Agriculture and Livestock in Mandera County Assembly. I wanted to ask one question. If today, if you go to Mandera and you say you want to vaccinate animals, our people will not allow you to vaccinate their animals. Simply because there is this rumor and a lot of us in social media that government want to use Bill Gates vaccines. So I want to ask my sister and Professor Goulier to clearly tell us, because it is something that gives us a lot of fuddle as grassroots leaders, because our people are asking, what are these vaccinations for? Government are saying they want to vaccinate 22 million cattle. What diseases? What is the content? Who is the producer of these vaccines? Please, can we get the clarity? Thank you.
Okay, the last two, Tanariva and then you.
Bismillah.
You are next.
Kwa majina naitwa Osman Gutu na wakilisha wafugaji wa Tana River County. Na kwa bahati mbaya ama mazuri, wajumbe ya Tana River hata moja wapo, gavana, mimi ndio kila kitu. Mimi ndio gavana, deputy gavana, wajumbe wote
tuliwaalika
katika kongamano hichi. Lakini sina mengi. Ya kwanza, wakati nimealikwa na nikafika kongamano hii nilifurahi. Lakini kusikiza viongozi wetu jana mpaka asubuhi nimeanza kushangaa tena. Tegemeo letu ni viongozi ya wafugaji ambao kwamba watatuwakilisha na wana ujuzi mingi. Lakini wao wenyewe nakuja kuona wanalalamika wao wenyewe tena. Kidogo kinashangaza hawa. Kama governor na masenators na wajumbe wanalalamika, je, mimi mfugaji ama hada ambaye mchungaji huko Koni ama Burra itakwaje? Hivyo pengine hii ndio suluhu ya kudumu. Lakini swali yangu ni moja. Mumetaja mambo mengi sana katika kukuza na kuendeleza maisha yetu kupitia ufugaji. Lakini kuna hadui moja sijasikia kiguzwa hapa. Hiyo hadui ni mti inaitwa madhenge. Inaitwa aligarob kwa lugha nyingine. Haswa eneo ambayo inatoka imechukua sehemu kubwa, na sehemu ambayo miti hicho inamea hakuna nyasi ama miche ya kiasili ya tegemeo ya mifugo yetu haimei tena. Je, ma expertise ama idara husika ina maono gani juu ya hiyo miti? Asante.
Okay.
Bismillah.
No. There's somebody ahead of you. Oh, given up. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You have given a chance. Okay. You were ahead of you, and I gave you. Okay. You'll be next. Can we wind up, please? Can we wind up? Can we ask if question or comment direct?
Thank you.
But say your name.
My name is Muhammad Yusuf from Garissa County. I come from civil society background.
Very good.
A network known as Paran, which actually is a platform which echo the voice of the voiceless. Because we believe the pastoralists are the voiceless according to our livelihood, our context. If I come to this forum today, this fourth summit, PLC summit, actually we could have asked ourselves what were the gains for the last 3 summits. Anyway, if you look at the theme, unlocking policy, financial bottleneck, and this is the time now, and this is the high time. Leaders, the political leaders, the stakeholders, the civil society, the technocrats were all here. I wish the senators were here and the member of parliament. If you look at the list now you share with us, our recommendation, because by the way that list is long. My first concern is, why can't we come up and identify a common recommendation that can solve our problem?
Give us one.
I'm saying Livestock Marketing and Product Board.
Yeah, it is there. Number 1.
If we take that item, we can actually, that can give us enough strength to showcase and to demand for it. Just give me, please.
Please shorten.
I want to shorten.
People have left you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because why I'm saying that, there are other sectors also. We have land, security. They are going to come up with one. Yeah. Then at least if you come with 4 solutions, we can say, Your Honorable President, this is our position. If this time now, if we are not going to make use of this opportunity, let us not talk behind the government. This is a pastoral government. We are the pastoralists, we are a stakeholder. Let us not undermine our effort and come up with a collective, a passionate, with a lot of concern, not to petition, to ombe raisi. This time, we want that board to be constituted because that board is going to solve all our problems across the board. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Bismillah. My name is Farah Abdi Saman. Mine is not a question but a suggestion. I'm the CEC Agricultural Livestock, Wajir County. Members of the society, we need to get a policy or in any other way to instill in people to see business sense in their livestock or animals. What is happening is that the government, there is no county government which can conveniently treat and vaccinate the livestock of its county. 2 weeks ago, we launched vaccination and treatment for small stock for 10 days. So when I went for supervision, one thing I discovered, it is not possible. Because in the first 3 days, there's a town called Shantabak here, around 20 kilometers from here. The team were in Shantabak and animals were everywhere. So mine is to tell the pastoralists to own the system. They should treat their animals. We are not poor. But the problem is we ask everything the government. That is policy must change and people must have business sense in their livestock. You must be able to treat your animals. You must be able to sell them. At times you'll find that a pastoralist with a sick child will send his child to the town asking for somebody who was earning salary to do the treatment. When one goat can fetch 15,000 shillings. So there must be a policy in which people must rely on themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Waziri. Halima.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm Halima Bashir. I work for CSO in here, Wajir, called Arilands Development Focus, ALDEF. Mine is a quick one. I think the whole of today, it was about call to action and action. And first of all, I'd also like to thank the presenters. It was very good. You know, the other part of the world, I mean the country, has moved out of poverty through the cooperative system. Even in Somali language, we say the ayuta. Now my comment is, and it goes to Mheshimiwa, to ask the governors present from the ASAL counties. Livestock is a vital livelihood system for us in this part of the ASAL counties. Now that we are asking or, taking to task the national government, the governors, those present in this particular forum, how much have you put, what percentage have they put in the livestock sector? That is the only way we can always challenge ourselves, and we can actually task or challenge the national government and the kind of percentage of budget they are putting into the livestock sector. So kindly, that should be an ask to them first before to the president and the national. The other thing is, I think that we have several sectors, all will be coming up with resolutions and recommendations. And maybe, like now for this sector, we had almost eight, I think. Can we consolidate some of them so that at least we come up with 3 or 2 very critical to us? And I'll always promote or talk about, appreciate the issue of cooperatives, because it has really assisted people from graduating poverty and supporting each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Halima. Next.
Thank you. I'm called Peter Yerer, leader of Minority West Pokot County. I only have 2 issues. One to the Yala Member of Parliament, especially on the issue of the laws which cover even cross-border. For example, our pastoralist from Masai land cross to Tanzania. Our pastoralists in West Pokot also cross to Uganda. So I thought probably you also think of the laws which will guide and also help those pastoralists who cross over for search of pasture, and as we think of how we improve. Secondly, I also thought probably if we can focus on the stall projects as priorities, then coming up with the new other projects should also be basis for our presentation, that the stall project should be upper, then the other projects can follow. Thank you.
I think that should be the last comment. We'll give opportunity now to the presenters to react to your questions. It's already 5. So we start with our Mheshimiwa East Africa. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much. And I think Honorable Sunguli, who have just stepped out, indicated that we have a tannery that is producing leather shoes, and it is doing very well. And he also alluded to the issue of exporting, that we should open. And even another person also asked the same question about exporting raw leather. Ladies and gentlemen, it is painful that we export raw leather at a very cheap price of 200 Kenya shillings for a hide of a whole cow, or 300 shillings, and then import shoes which are manufactured from our own leather. As I said earlier, one hide from one cow can produce 20 pairs of shoes. We have seen leaders wearing leather shoes worth 100,000, 200,000. So you can imagine in countries like Australia, in Switzerland, the cow hide is more expensive than the meat from the cow. And it is us who are making them that expensive because we are importing their shoes, ending up making their leather being more expensive
than beef. You can imagine a cow of 50,000, you selling at 100,000 because there is 50,000 for the leather. That is what we are saying, that we should produce them here. And leather industries were there even before civilization. Our forefathers used to sleep on leather, they used to wear leather clothes. So I think it is a labor-intensive investment. It's not capital-intensive. So we can do it instead of the capital-intensive investment, which we end up borrowing a lot of money to invest on it. This is labor-intensive. And in Africa, we have no shortage of labor force. We don't have shortage of labor force. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Patia Professor.
Livestock is devolved. Everybody knows that. And extension is not working. So who is to blame? And the governors who are supposed to have had this have all gone away. They are all parting, waiting for Ruto tomorrow. So those are the people you elect. Shida ni yenu. Ambieni hawa, mnataka watu wa kuwatumikia. Kweli urongo? And I think the model of extension also needs to change. At the council, we have been discussing on how to change the model of extension from free service to service paid for by the service consumers. Kama wewe ni mgonjwa ukienda hospitali si unalipa daktari? Kama mnyama ni mgonjwa kwa nini usilipe mwenye anakuja kutibu? And to spur this kind of service, we are thinking of including vet care or animal health care as part of the e-voucher system, and to give some little incentive for every farmer to use that e-voucher to treat the animals. So this is some of the thinking that we are having, but being a devolved function, we do not want to be accused of usurping the roles of county governments. So we would like county governments to employ the relevant expertise in line with their main core functions in the counties. In the county government, you will probably find there are a lot of employed staff, many of whom are not technical. Kila mtu ameleta ndugu yake, dada yake, shangazi, auntie, but the real core technical people are lacking. And now I'm sure each one of them, if you ask them to employ livestock officers or animal health officers, watasema establishment yetu imejazwa na nani? Sini wao. So I think you need to hold your governors accountable in terms of the kind of service you want. The issue of hides and skins. I know we used to process as a country, you process hides and skins to a stage we call wet blue stage. And this is the most laborious bit of the processing of hides and skins. Once it is at the wet blue stage, almost all the hides and skins used to be exported, largely initially to Italy, but later on the destination market was China. And of course, as the Mheshimiwa said, they come back in form of finished goods, bags, nice bags, shoes, belts, and all that. But as a country, the reason why in the better plan leather was prioritized, they found it was one of the easiest places that we can change the life of many Kenyans. And this is why they have invested heavily in processing and finishing that leather in the country. Nothing should be exported out. The Kenanie Leather Industrial Park, which is almost 99% complete, will be up and running by March next year, hopefully. Right now, the physical structures are done. The common effluent treatment works is done. What they are doing now are social amenities like roads, and they are installing power into that place. Thereafter, bidders will be invited, one, to do tanning on 2 of the large houses, and to do finishing of the tanned leather products in another 2 large warehouses. So this will be now a one-stop shop, whereby we will have our leather turned and finished into products which will be used locally. Initially, we will target primary school going children, and I think that will be the starting point. So rather than exporting our money and our labor to China, let us do it locally. This should be the philosophy. Now, livestock producers not producing for the market is true. We had orders from Indonesia for 200,000 metric tons of meat to be supplied to them annually, but they needed animals of certain quality, certain carcass weight, about 200 kg carcass weight. When the director livestock who was seated here was told to go and find out whether we can comply with this order, he came back after a couple of weeks and said they can only get 20,000 metric tons. So the reality is we do not keep animals as a business. And because we are told 60–70% of our livestock is in the assals, and if they are not keeping it for business, then it means they cannot benefit from it. If you look at the poverty index, the counties with the highest number of livestock population have the highest poverty indices. Why should it be? It's because the animals are not being exploited economically for useful gains for the family households. So we have education to do. Even if we get markets tomorrow, we cannot sustain them or we cannot even meet them because the kind of animals we keep in our roaming lifestyle will not give us the carcass weight that we require to service those markets. And that is why as government we said, what can we do? And the issue of beef fattening centers was muted so that we can see how these animals that are roaming in the rangelands can be finished in a particular center in every ward for 2–3 months so that they can gain body condition and body weight that can be sold to markets, either up markets in the country or exported outside the country. So those are the interventions that we thought it will blend with the pastoral lifestyle of the communities. Now, I think rumors about vaccinations. Of course, some politicians who are looking for sympathy and support have taken upon themselves to use it as a milestone to get voters. The reality is, foot and mouth disease has been treated in this country since before we even became independent. FMD is endemic in this region, not just in Kenya, but in the whole region. PPR, which is a viral disease affecting sheep and goats, is also endemic in the region. It causes both mortalities and it also causes loss of body condition for those that don't die. So one way of controlling these diseases has been through vaccinations, which has been done for generations. So the same vaccinations that we are actually using are developed locally, and the director of the institute, the Kenya Veterinary Vaccines Development Institute that develops and produces these vaccines is right here in the hall. Dr. Alex Sabuni is here. He can tell you whether these vaccines have anything to do with Bill Gates or whoever. The rumors have been spread, the lies that have been spread, but the truth of the matter is these are vaccines that are developed in Kabete, locally here in this country, and the same vaccines we are not using this year for the first time, we have been using it for generations. And finally, why is it that we are vaccinating all the animals countrywide? It's because animal care, health care, or veterinary services has been devolved. And because it's a devolved functions, the counties have not done a clean job in terms of vaccinating their animals in their counties. And even where a particular county does vaccinations in their county, if the neighboring county does not do vaccination for example, FMD, the same animals that were vaccinated in one county will be reinfected by the animals from the neighboring county that did not do the vaccination. So this is why we want to have a blanket vaccination across the country so that then we worry about cross-border infections and forget about infections within the country from county to county. So this is why we are doing this vaccination, both for FMD and for sheep and goats, it's PPR. And this is the starting point. We will move to other diseases as and when resources become available. But for now, we are dealing with these two. If we can vaccinate FMD, maybe twice every year for 3 or 4 consecutive years, we have an opportunity to make our country FMD free. But if we can't do it together or at a go in the whole country, then we cannot be an FMD free country, which means we cannot export our meat. Even locally, the animals will be losing condition if they don't die, and so on. So a lot of animals that have been imported, the neighboring countries that are, the countries, destination market countries, are asking, do you have FMD? And once you have this disease, they will not import animals. So many people will be out of business. And this is why we are trying to take care of livelihoods of all those involved in live animal and meat export trade, so that they can be able to earn a living. Thank you very much.
Now you know. Now you know. Sindio? Okay. Next person.
There is a cross-border that I did not answer, cross-border pastoralism. There is a law, in fact, that deal also with vaccination in the East Africa Legislative Assembly that will sort out. And as you have realized, in the recent past, they have no auctioning of Kenya cows elsewhere or auctioning of Tanzania cows crossing the border. We are now free as East Africa. We have already mitigated on that. On the issue of vaccine, surely these rumors are very dangerous, because we are becoming too inquisitive. I'm sure some of you have taken Panadol early in the morning.
Honorable Ole Sankok.
Just a minute.
Please don't go into vaccine. It has been adequately addressed.
No, I'm just adding up. I'm just topping up. Because I'm also a medical professional, and you will also add on it. So the issue of vaccine, most of us have that vaccination scar. You have never inquired where the vaccine was made from. You have also taken Panadol. You have never inquired where was this Panadol manufactured and what is the component of manufacturing this Panadol. I don't know why these fake rumors are circulating about the government trying to vaccinate all livestock so that we become safe. And we have been paying for it. Now that it is free, you become too inquisitive for nothing.
Thank you. Dr. Diba.
So, I'll have to stand.
Come here.
So, first of all, before I answer one important question, I want to say this. Mheshimiwa said the vaccine rumors is dangerous. It's not only dangerous, it's reckless. It's extremely reckless. And it's a product of idle people sitting on social media and circulating fake rumors, fake news. As development partners, we interact with these government officials and different departments, and even as we have responsibility to drive an agenda that is useful and helpful to the society. And we have, by no means, we are not interested in stopping cows from fatting, for example, as they say. Here in Africa, our priority when it comes to climate change is to even, first of all, substantiate whether we contribute anything to greenhouse gas emission. That's our priority. Our priority is not to stop cows from fatting, and that is, as I say, as a professional and also as a pastoralist from this region, and I stand by that. So please, let's separate rumors from facts. Yes. And leaders that are here, talk to your people and reassure your people that this has nothing to do with our vaccination. FMD, PPR, this is what we presented here. Please, it's reckless and it should stop. So the one that I'm coming to comment that was directed to me was comment around camel ear of the camelid. It's unfortunate that it's ending before we are even doing something substantial. I believe we can redeem ourselves as a country and come up with Camel Center of Excellence before this year ends. Because that way then we have redeemed ourselves. We have done something for the camel. So this is to us also, the panelists and the moderators, Mheshimiwa, even in terms of order of ranking.
Yes.
Camel Center of Excellence should be appearing in the top 3. I don't like that list. And I'm sure many pastoralists I speak for here do not like that list. So please, let's reorder also in terms of the importance. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's wind up. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope all concerns have been addressed. Announcement. Tangazo. Tomorrow the president will be here by 10 o'clock. So we would like you to be seated here by 8 o'clock. Sawa? Imesikika huko hata chai, umesikia? 8 o'clock seated here because the president will be here on the podium by latest 10 o'clock or earlier even. Ya pili, the one about the recommendation. I agree with you guys here that we have a long recommendation which cannot be presented to the president. We are going to reduce it to a maximum of 3. Everybody, I hope you are hearing me. Hello? Order please.
Yes, sir.
Order please. Everybody, those recommendations, we have to reduce it. If we have to present it to the president, we have to reduce it to a maximum of 3. Because there are other groups and other groups and other groups. For livestock, maximum of 3. And what has come up here, number 1 is the board. Number 2 is cooperative. Number 3 is common excellence. Those 3. Full stop. Vaccinations have been cleared very well. With these few remarks, I sincerely thank you so much. You have been good students. Mwende mukalale salama salimin. Kesho saa 2 muwe hapa. Asanteni sana.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed delegates, welcome to the 4th Pastoralist Leadership Summit 2024, right here in the heart of Wajir County. Today, we come together to celebrate the strength, resilience, and contributions of pastoralist communities, the backbone of Kenya's arid and semi-arid regions. This summit serves as a vital platform to address critical issues, share innovative ideas, and unlock the immense potential of pastoralism for sustainable development. We are honored to host leaders, policymakers, partners, and stakeholders committed to tackling policy and financial bottlenecks and advancing the pastoralist agenda. Let us unite, collaborate, and chart a path toward a brighter and more inclusive future for pastoralism in Kenya and beyond. Once again, welcome to the 4th Pastoralist Leadership Summit 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed delegates, welcome to the 4th Pastoralist Leadership Summit 2024, right here in the heart of Wajir County. Today, we come together to celebrate the strength, resilience, and contributions of pastoralist communities, the backbone of Kenya's arid and semi-arid regions. This summit serves as a vital platform to address critical issues, share innovative ideas, and unlock the immense potential of pastoralism for sustainable development. We are honored to host leaders, policymakers, partners, and stakeholders committed to tackling policy and financial bottlenecks and advancing the pastoralist agenda. Let us unite, collaborate, and chart a path toward a brighter and more inclusive future for pastoralism in Kenya and beyond. Once again, welcome to the 4th Pastoralist Leadership Summit 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed delegates, welcome to the 4th Pastoralist Leadership Summit 2024, right here in the heart of Wajir County. Today, we come together to celebrate the strength, resilience, and contributions of pastoralist communities.